Why take FPL advice from one expert when you can take advice from 100 of them? Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan and today we're going to be having a look at the transfer moves and captaincy decisions made by the experts ahead of Gameweek 16. Cole Palmer versus Salah, which one will it be and what moves should we be making? Let's find out. So a massive shout out, as always, to our experts who helped us out this week, all 100 of them who volunteered their data for this week's video. We did miss Game Week 15 due to the tight fixture turnaround. However, we are back now, thankfully, and we're going to see what they are up to ahead of this week. So big shout out to these guys. Let's see what they're doing. So just to give an overview, 33% are using one transfer this week, with 21% making 2 transfers. We have also got 6% making 3 transfers this week. So as always, there are always a few of our experts making some big moves ahead of each deadline. However, this week is a week where 40% are making no transfers at all. So this genuinely could be a good week to roll your transfer. It's not often that we see the no transfer category seeing the highest numbers of all of these different options. So if you are liking the look of your team right now, you don't want to rush into any decisions, it's absolutely fine to roll your transfer this week. Also, no one's using the wild card, so probably not a week to be using the wild card chip, but that said, there are still enough experts making transfers where we've got some really nice data. And if you have some of these players that the experts are selling, or maybe don't have too many of the players that the experts are buying / already have, then certainly it might be a week to make a transfer move after all. So let's see if these transfer moves suit your team. And we're going to have a look at these global top picks using the new graphics we brought in last game week to see if our experts agree or disagree with the general most popular picks, to see if there are any potential traps here. And immediately we have got one right at the tippy top of this list, and that is William Saliba. He is currently the most transferred in player of all FPL managers in the world, with over 200,000 transfers in for him, but no interest whatsoever among our experts. And it's not even like he's a super popular expert pick already anyway. Very few of our experts already have Saliba, and nobody is looking to bring him in either. So I would say in general, this is probably a bit of a trap. I know he scored FPL points over the last couple of game weeks, but those in the know, and those who watch a lot of games or study the data, will know that Saliba is very out of character with his goals recently, and we're not really expecting it to continue, particularly when you look at the nature in which his goals have been scored. But we did cover that in quite extensive detail in yesterday's Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid video, as well as the podcast, the Stick to FPL podcast this week. We did speak a lot about Saliba. So yeah, I don't think we need to go too much in on him, but just wanted to put this one out there. Even though Saliba is super popular among the overall player base, our experts simply are not interested in him whatsoever. However, the next 2 players, Isak and Enzo, not only are they seeing high volumes of transfers in the overall player base, but our experts love these picks as well. And there's a couple of other picks our experts seem to like as well. Minimal transfers in for the likes of Palmer, Saka, and Yuri Timber. We are going to cover them in this video, of course. No change on Salah, but as we know, he's like 98% owned by experts anyway, so there's not really too much room for him to be transferred in our sample size of top FPL managers. I mean, if you don't have Salah yet, like, what are you doing? He's a must-own player, pretty much, isn't he? However, there are 3 players on this list who, even though they are showing some positive trends in the overall player base, actually, our experts are selling these players. So Wood, Vardy, and Wissa, even though they have some interest, the overall player base like these players, the experts are selling these players in particular to move to one certain forward. So if you do have these players, you might think about moving them on. If you don't have these players, certainly would not be looking to bring them in based on the data that we have today. So let's have a look at the transfers out. And once again, Bryan Mbeumo tops this list. I know he scored a big old haul in Game Week 15, which I'm sure makes it more difficult to sell him. But again, our experts are looking at more than just FPL points when making their decisions. And seeing Bryan Mbeumo playing in a right wing back position, yes, he got the points on this occasion, but it is a little bit worrying for the price you pay for him, especially when you consider Brentford do have some tougher fixtures coming up in the near future. So 16 transfers out for him. He was down to 27% owned from the last couple of game weeks with people selling him. He's going to be even lower, and Burmo is really going to be a differential in terms of the top FPL managers as we approach the game week 16 deadline. So really a player you can continue to think about selling, in particular if you're trying to free up budget for other moves, and that does seem to be a big trend this week. Nicholas Jackson is also seeing 6 transfers out, although in fairness he does have a couple of transfers in as well. So our experts seem to be divided on whether Jackson is a player to buy or a player to sell. So don't know how much emphasis we want to put on that one. He is a very highly owned player among our experts anyway. He's an expert template player at 48% owned last game week, but he will be dropping down just a little bit as we will see in this video. Semenyo is also being transferred out, 6 transfers out for him, and outside of that we see the likes of Rico Lewis with his suspension. He is being removed, as is Bruno, Gavardio, Watkins, who could potentially be injured, and a few people removing the likes of Digne, Flecken, who has been a disappointing goalkeeper pick, and Mikolenko, who has some very, very poor fixtures coming up with few opportunities to play him. So these are the kind of players you might be thinking about removing from your FPL team, but let's move on to who you should be buying to replace them. And before we do that, make sure you do drop a like on the video, massively appreciated. Do subscribe if you are new around here. It really does help out the channel so much, and shout out to you guys who do support the channel each week with your likes and your comments. You guys are the best. Okay, well, a new name in the transfers in category, a player who is pretty much not owned at all last game week among our experts, and now we're seeing 20 transfers in from him. So a real increase in the Enzo ownership ahead of game week 16. The 5 million man has been getting a lot of FPL returns recently, playing in a more advanced position than usual, with Chelsea having those great fixtures as well. So if we're looking for the new best bargain midfielder, there's no doubt about it, Enzo looks to be that guy. Now he's not 100% nailed, but from what he is offering right now, it seems that you can't do too much worse than him, really. You can't really do too much better than him, sorry, for that price tag. You know, Rodgers, Semenyo, Smith Rowe, these players are not performing as well as we'd hoped, and Enzo is. So we got a new 5 million man in town, and his name is Enzo Fernandez. Now, the other players on this list, there's 2 big ones, and that's Isak and Trent. 17 transfers in for Isak ahead of his fixture against Leicester. A really nice fixture from him, and he has been in top form, putting up some great underlying numbers as well. And Trent Alexander-Arnold is also seeing an increase in his ownership. 16 transfers in for him. And what we notice about Enzo, Isak, and Trent is they are all set-piece takers to some degree. Isak is on penalties, Trent and Enzo taking some of those corners. Enzo is a potential penalty taker when Palmer is off the pitch as well. So you get a lot for your money with these kind of players and various routes to FPL points, which is what we're looking for. Gordon, potential set piece taker as well. Few transfers in for him as his ownership looks to more than double ahead of game week 16. More transfers in for Yuri and Timber. People like this Arsenal defense right now, and with Gabriel unclear about his injury status, maybe Timber is a nice alternative to make sure you do have that Arsenal defensive cover. But you also have Kirkes in here as a cheap defender if you fancy going that way. He was 3% owned last week, and he's going to be up to 7% owned this week, so a real increase there. A few more people jumping on. Lewis, Hall, Ahmad, Iwobi, and Jackson complete the list of most popular transfers in among experts. And something I did notice when I was gathering the data for this week's video is that the transfers out, there was a huge array of players. There was a sort of, I can find out the exact number. There was 38 different players being transferred out this week, but only 25 players being transferred in this week, and the players being transferred in really do seem to be concentrated at the top. Enzo, Isak, and Trent. These are the real big 3 transfer targets for this game week, whereas the players you're transferring out, I think there's going to be a bit more variety, and it depends who you have in your team as we try and move towards a new template, which includes the likes of Enzo, Isak, and Trent in that template team, if you like. But But let's cover the template. So it looks something a little like this. The average Game Week 15 score among our experts, by the way, 61.1 points. Let me know, guys, did you outscore the experts in Game Week 15 or not? And also, how you're doing in terms of the rank. The average rank is now 368,000th in the world, which is increasing the mean rank. The medium rank has dropped just a little bit, but that is a little more volatile, as we have seen, just different ways of finding the average there. But certainly the expert rank is going up in general week by week, and I think that's going to continue as well. Let's look at the template here. Fabianski, no change there. A small increase for Raya, a 2% increase up to 34%. For those defenders, a small decrease for Aït-Nouri and Greaves, but the rest seems to be relatively the same, other than Trent, who has now entered the 100 expert template for the first time in quite a few weeks. He's up to 29% ownership ahead of Game Week 16. So a new man and a new direction the template seems to be taking. And Trent is going to be very much a part of that. Small increase for Lewis Hall as well there. In terms of those midfielders, we're seeing Palmer and Salah very close to that 100% owned gold mine, I suppose. Yeah, these players really are players you want to own. And we see Saka continuing to increase. He's up to 90%, which puts the three premium midfielders all at 90% or more owned. It has become very, very clear that what we want to have in our FPL teams is Palmer, Salah, Saka, and build the rest around those three key players. That is the trend. We've been moving towards that for weeks and weeks and weeks. Hopefully you guys are already on that by now, but if not, there are maybe some other changes lower down the list, because Rodgers is in here. He has slightly dropped down to 66% owned. Semenyo is a new player in the template, but that's only because Bryan Mbeumo has been decreasing in ownership so much that even Semenyo, a player who is being sold, finds himself in the template. But at only 27% owned, I think that Enzo Fernandez could replace Semenyo soon in the 100 Experts template. The forwards all see a drop, as the forward template seems to starting to get a little bit mixed, a little bit muddled, as Isak stakes his claim for one of the three slots in your team. So it certainly seems that having three of João Pedro, Cunha, Jackson and Isak seems to be the way forward at the moment. But which three you're going to have is going to depend on you. It's certainly difficult to say which three you should have, considering that all João Pedro, Cunha and Jackson, all of them are being sold, and it's all to bring in Isak. And we want to talk about that a little bit more next, I think. So let's look at some combo transfers. And if you're selling Bryan Mbeumo, I still think, and the expert trends, it seems to back this up, that if you're selling Mbeumo, it has to serve a purpose. It has to be freeing up the money to upgrade somewhere else. None of our experts are just doing Mbeumo to Enzo as a standalone transfer, for example. They are always doing it to upgrade somewhere else. Now, some examples of that could be if you have Mbeumo and Bruno, maybe that allows you to sell Mbeumo to get Saka. You need to free up some budget somewhere, and that is a way of doing that. Another way is if you are selling Mbeumo, you can now upgrade Lewis to Trent. Again, using Enzo as your cheap midfielder to allow for that big upgrade in the defense position. And finally, if you have Mbeumo and a forward that you're not too keen on, and we saw a lot of different forwards being sold among our experts this week, Wissa, Wood, Vardy, Delap. You know, if you've got one of those forwards that you're just not totally convinced by and you want to upgrade them to Isak, then selling Mbeumo to Enzo is going to allow you to make that upgrade. That works really, really nicely as well. So that is the combo transfers. Mbeumo is going to be at the heart of a lot of combo transfers this week, if you do still have him in your team. Maybe Bruno Fernandes is also going to be a part of some combo transfers as well, but it all has to serve a purpose of upgrading to a player you really want. Is it Saka, Palmer, Salah in the midfield positions? Is it Trent or Timber maybe in the defensive areas? Or is it a player like Isak, who seems to be a really popular forward to buy this week? Lots of options, but they all involve downgrading Mbeumo to upgrade somewhere else. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more direct, these are some good suggestions based on our expert data. So a straight move from Jackson to Isak could be a way forward. Now, obviously, ideally, we would keep Jackson, we would keep Cunha, we would keep João Pedro, but you can't have them all and you have to prioritize. If Isak is a player you just really want to have in your team, then maybe Jackson is going to be the guy to sacrifice. For a like-for-like transfer, these players are similar enough in price that maybe this is the way to go. If you're looking to sell Mbeumo for a direct transfer, Gordon is the most popular replacement for our experts. None of our experts are downgrading Mbeumo to Enzo without making that second upgrade, but those doing it as an individual transfer seem to be heavily favouring Gordon as their replacement this week against Leicester. Semenyo could be sold directly for Enzo. Gvardiol could be sold for one of Trent or Timber, depending on your budget that you have as a direct transfer. And if you're looking to replace Rico Lewis, then Kirkes seems to be the most popular cheap defender to buy for Game Week 16. And finally, captains, and I bet you hoped the results of this particular poll would be a little clearer, but unfortunately they are not. Salah is on top here with 51% of our experts opting to captain the Egyptian against Fulham at home. However, Palmer is sitting here in second place against Brentford at home at 46%. So it's actually super close. And I think if I was to maybe, ask a completely different set of 100 experts, there's a very good chance that Palmer could be more popular than Salah in a slightly different data set. But we have the information that we have, and if you are looking to split a coin toss scenario, then our experts are just about favouring Salah, but they are certainly not discounting Palmer as a captain pick as well. Both picks incredible for this week, and it could be a very swingy one as the Salah and Palmer captainers go head to head. Let me know, guys, which side are you on in Game Week 16? Team Salah or Team Palmer? And let me know why as well, because there's so little to split these players. I wonder if anyone can make a very compelling argument for one or the other. Let me know, guys. Outside of that, Haaland, Saka and Son each see themselves with one expert captaining them. Certainly not enough to justify us, using that information. There's no trends here, and we do like to focus on the trends in this YouTube series. So there is some people going elsewhere, but it seems to be all about Salah and Palmer realistically for Game Week 16. Salah against Fulham, Palmer against Brentford. Salah probably the better player in general for FPL, but Palmer with the slightly better fixture. Who knows which one is the one to go for? I still haven't decided myself, but yeah, keen to get your thoughts in the comments section. But there we go, guys. If you enjoyed this one, make sure you do drop a like on the video. Do subscribe if you're new around here, and feel free to check out another video we uploaded by Cellkeeper Void yesterday, so maybe you will enjoy that one as well. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.